All right, welcome everybody. I am Stacy from Nutrition Jobs, and we are talking about a subject that may or may not be so interesting, but it is so important. And I will show you all about that and how we can really take advantage of this great opportunity. And that's just a simple thank you note. And this is a note that you would send after the job interview. And you might be thinking, okay, why are we even having a conversation about this? And the reason is because not everybody does. And so this gives you a competitive advantage. You would think that like, oh, everybody does this, but it turns out that a small number actually send a thank you note. There's a few reasons, there's a few obstacles that get in the way. And so that's what we will go through today. And so a couple things I just wanted to share with you. So when I've been running nutrition jobs for many years, and I get lots of questions about how to best position yourself for a job interview. And a lot of it just comes down to being yourself and having some kindness behind it. I joke about the idea of, it's really hard when you're super anxious, especially a job that you really want, and you have like this one chance to get it, and you've gotten everything all together, and you just really want to present yourself well. And so a lot of that comes as having like nice manners, just being nice to other people and being able to be friendly to put everybody at ease, but also to just be thankful and grateful for the time that people gave you. Hiring managers and recruiters are ridiculously busy. And so it may not seem like that nice of a process. They've got a mission to do, but don't worry about them. Don't worry about whether, they were nice to you or not. What you want to do, you want to be the one that comes across really engaged, really ready for this job, and showing how you can be in this job, and then doing all the nice things afterwards. And so today we'll talk about that job interview thank you note. And to make it just a little bit easier, I have a formula, because I love formulas. And so I think that always helps you sort of organize your thoughts and spend the appropriate amount of time with one section and not too much with another section, and or just getting so, as I say, like so constipated in thinking about all of the things that you want to do that you end up not doing them, because perfection can just like drop in and really take away from your creativity and your confidence as well. And so a big part of the whole interview process is just feeling confident and being able to be your true self. And so a job interview, awesome. You've got a job interview, that's super amazing. But we'll go through the steps that you want to take afterwards. And so when I was mentioning that you do want to send a thank you note because not everybody does, there was a survey of HR managers reporting that only 24% of them receive a thank you note after an interview. And I thought, that's a ridiculously low number. Even if that number is 10% or 30%, this study only had, didn't have a large number of people. I think it was like about 1,000 recruiters responded. And so it wasn't a huge, robust study in terms of recruiting. But I thought, even if it's 50%, that is such a great opportunity for you to leave another lasting and important impression. It just shows that you've got intent. I mean, I can go on and on about why to send a thank you note. I won't go into it too much, because I can imagine that you would know sort of why. You just want to be respectful of somebody's time. You want to show gratitude, but it also gives you another opportunity to talk to the hiring manager, to be back in their presence, in the form of a note or an email message, whatever it might be, and to show them that you are really excited about the position, and that you've got these characteristics or these skills that can be a great fit, and you're really looking forward to being part of the team. So it's just like one more little opportunity to talk, to be there with them, right? People hire people. So now, does it really matter? Is it going to make or break your job options? Is it really going to make a huge difference that you had this stellar job interview, beautiful resume, great references, great LinkedIn profile, really excellent background experience, and then your thank you note comes in like a week late, doesn't actually make it, or maybe you had a couple typos in it, maybe one typo in it? Is that what's going to really affect it? Probably not. And conversely, if you were sort of a suboptimal candidate, maybe you didn't have enough experience, maybe you did make some bloopers in the job interview, you didn't feel really solid, and you didn't get to really explain why you are awesome sauce in the job interview, but you sent this really beautiful, poignant thank you note. You're probably still not going to get the job, but it's all up to what the hiring managers say. And again, the same study from Robert Half, who's got great career advice as well, the hiring managers in HR thought that it, wasn't helpful. 22% thought it was very helpful. 58% thought it was somewhat helpful, but a smaller percentage thought that it wasn't helpful at all. So we don't have to worry about them. But what we want to do is we want to check off all the boxes and make sure everything we are putting in, use the sports phrase 110%, right? We want to put everything in so that then you can't have any regrets about, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that during the process. And if you don't get the job, then you did your best job, right? You can still stay connected, and maybe another position will open up later. Who knows? Maybe, there was many different reasons why you didn't get selected. But if you did get selected, you know that you just went completely all out and did everything that you could, including this little thank you note. Send a thank you note. So that's my big push about sending a thank you note. It's just a nice thing to do. It can make a difference, and it just gives you another opportunity to be upfront with the hiring manager and anybody else that you were interviewing with during that process. You've got to do it within 24 hours. I know it's kind of painful to know that, maybe 48 hours. So that will help us. I think having a little bit of urgency behind it can also be motivating. If you were told that, send it within a month, I can guarantee that fewer of you would be able to successfully send out a thank you note in that month, because as more time goes on, as we know, the chance of you not sending the note is even greater, because then the pressure just starts to build and the perfection starts to exacerbate your feelings about and your confidence about being able to send out a thank you note. So having that 24 hours is like a really great number to sort of stick with. So now you're wondering, like, how in the world can I get a piece of mail to somebody's office in 24 hours? And the answer is, it's probably going to be difficult. So there's a couple different options. So obviously email is one way, the handwritten thank you note, of course, leaving a phone message and just following up with someone to leave a phone message. I think that's a little intrusive in some ways, but maybe if you just leave a voicemail, that's a different story. Social media, I'll talk a little bit more about that one, and text messaging, which I don't know. And I mean, it depends how you were communicating with the hiring manager ahead of all this. If you were communicating just through text messaging back and forth, which happens, and there are some platforms, some recruiting platforms that are text based, because there is a generation of people that prefer that way of communication, then that's completely appropriate to write a thank you note that way. If your correspondence has all been through direct messaging on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn in particular, then sending a thank you note through that format makes complete sense as well, especially LinkedIn. Then there's a nice big chain of history of all the conversations that you've had with that person, and they can look back and see, oh, how they found you in the first place. All your information's right there, where you went to school, what current job you have, maybe some skills that you have, the way that you write in your about section or your headline, how it speaks to you, maybe any video content or any media that you have in there. Maybe you did a really wonderful presentation on gestational diabetes, and that's in there, and they can really understand who you are. It sort of adds to the interview process. Using social media, direct messaging makes complete sense. Phone call, again, if you're working with somebody mostly off of phone calls, and you've been going back and forth by phone, then that's an appropriate way as well. And probably you would be leaving a voicemail with them. So that's an appropriate way. So then that leaves us with the last two, and that's email or handwritten note. And I really do love the handwritten note. I really think it shows a lot more care in the process. But given the two, they're probably equal, knowing that the interviewer or the hiring manager it's not going to make or break your interview process. What's important is that they get the message and that it gets there in a timely fashion so that they can attach that note, or they can attach that email, or they can bring together all of the conversation communication that you guys have had together into one pile. So you want to make sure it happens quickly. So, the handwritten note's a little bit of a problem. I've got a couple of different ideas for that one, but what's important is when you've had an interview, you want to make sure that you get someone's business card, and that you want to know what the mailing address of where that person is. Are they working from home, or are they working in the office? If they're working from home, you could send the snail mail. Most people are not going to give you their home address. You can send it to their work address, and then they're probably not going to get it for like a week or so, because they might just go into the office once a week to go get their mail, if that's even something that happens for them. So you don't know if it's going to land, especially these days. You don't know if it's going to land in their hands and near their eyeballs. So it's a little tricky one. The other thing you can do, which I have heard people do, and I think I've done it before as well, is that you can get all queued up, get your thank you note all ready to go. If it's an in-person interview, and they met you at an office, not a Starbucks or Panera or someplace like that, but they met you at the office or at the hospital, you can send, write the note and then walk right back in there and share that note with them. You don't have to give it to them personally. You can give it to the receptionist, or to if there's a mail room, if they can go right into their mailbox, so that you know that they're going to get it pretty quickly. Then that works. That works for sure. If you have any contact information for them, maybe they're doing a work site, a place where they're working off site, like the library or something. But again, I think it's a little bit of a tricky thing these days with the handwritten note. They are nice though. I have also heard of someone writing a note, or handwriting a note, taking a photo of it, and then emailing that to that person. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that. It'd be good to poll some recruiters and see what they thought about that. Not a bad idea. But I kind of like the idea of, let's just go with the email. Most likely, that is how you've been communicating with the hiring manager, the recruiter, the food service director, whoever it is actually interviewing you. And that's the way that you want to follow through with corresponding with them. So let's just go with email, and because that's probably the most likely way that you're going to do it. You want to make sure that it gets received by them, so you can either reply back to a message that you had sent to them already, or a message that was corresponding with when you're going to show up, where you're going to show up, what the Zoom call link is, what the phone number is you're going to call into, so that there is a track, rather than sending its own isolated email message. But you can do either way. But sometimes I always get a little anxious that an email gets sent but doesn't actually get received. So and then we'll talk about how to actually craft that, and how you can even change the subject line too. And so, as you can see, according to the HR managers, these are the appropriate methods for sending a thank you note post interview. So most people agree email's okay, handwritten's okay too. Actually, I should say this study was done in 2017. So everybody was in the office for that handwritten note to be received. So it'd be interesting to see again now what would be the most appropriate way. It'd be kind of fun to check that one out. So you've had your interview and you're super exhausted after, because you planned and you researched and you prepared, just like we talked about our last webinar, talking about these interviews. I mean, they're a lot of work. It's so much work to like lay out who you are professionally, contain your crazy excitement and nervousness, and to be able to speak elegantly and professionally. Reading all the cues. If you're in the space, like there's so much information coming at you. There's the person that's interviewing you. There's all the activity down the hallway. You had to find the office. Even with Zoom, it's like, oh, did I get the right Zoom number? They're not letting me into the meeting. What happens now? Like, there's a lot of anxiety that can come up during the interview process. So it's completely natural, expected, that you'd be exhausted afterwards, and go treat yourself to, maybe go exercise, or you go back to work at your regular job, or you take care of your family or something. Pretty soon it's really easy to watch time go by quickly. So I think my best recommendation is to tackle that thank you note right away. And so I've got 3 tips for you that can be helpful. So let's go through them. So right when you're still super excited about everything that you're doing, that is when you want to start crafting that email. And I'll share this information with you. But when you still have lots of excitement going on, maybe you have your email up with the most recent email from them as well. You have all of your systems all set up, ready to go. That is when you want to take advantage of any of the endorphins that you have hanging out in you right now to write that thank you note. The other thing you can do is before the event, you can start filling out all the information, the email that you're going to, dear so and so, and then start the information and then fill in the blanks once you finish the interview. So you have all the specific details. Leave out the email address in case you accidentally send it with an incomplete information in there, but have it all ready to go, all queued up, ready to go. And if you are sending a handwritten note, then get that card out ahead when you're preparing for the interview. Address it if you can, if you've got that person's contact information. Maybe it's in the byline of their email signature. Put the stamp on it, get your address on there, get the card you're going to use, get one pen, stuff that pen back into the envelope so that you have it all there together. You can even start it with the date. You can get it all ready to go. You could do this sincerely at the bottom and have, a couple spaces in between. It's a little risky to fill out the bottom part, but get everything in there on the top, the date, the dear so-and-so, get it all ready to go. And then when you get back home, send it. The other thing you can do is afterwards, has nothing to do with procrastinating, but the other thing you can do afterwards is to connect with the recruiter, the hiring manager, the dietitian, whoever it was that you interviewed with. Connect with them on LinkedIn and stay connected with them on LinkedIn. You don't want to be creepy person, sort of checking them out and knowing a bunch of stuff about them that, of course, LinkedIn's public, but you don't want to be sort of creeping around their LinkedIn profile. But it's okay to, see who they are and, get some context about what questions they might ask you or how they fit into the organization or what their role is within the organization or who else are they connected to, what school did they go to? Maybe you guys went to the same school or you were in the same organizations or honor societies or sororities or clubs or something together. So that's okay to stay connected with them there. So I just wanted to put that in there as well. Well, that slide didn't load. Okay, so there's that didn't load. Okay, it's a little video, but let's go right to the formula. So there are 5 things to the formula. It's the greeting, ends with a signature. So really that is just sort of these 3 middle bits. And then there's the gratitude, the why or the connection, and then the closing. So really these 2 are the most important parts, the gratitude and the why. That's where you're going to spend most of your time. The closing is just, again, I look forward to next steps. And so that's sort of a little bit of generic information. So if you whittle it down to just 2 sections, that's not too much to have to think about. And that could be a little more relaxing in your mind and something totally actionable and tackleable, that you can actually tackle this really quickly because you're going to have some good juicy stuff just after the interview to do that. And of course, your closing is going to be the same thing every single time. So the greeting is going to be whoever it was that you met with. So Dr. Jones, or if you met with a panel of people, I've had one of these panel interviews before. If you met with a panel of people, then you can address it, more broadly instead of naming, 20 people. I once had a job interview where I think there was 15 people in the room. And so I think that I think how I addressed that thank you note was, dear PMRI team. And so I said the word team. You could say hiring team, but I think you want to put the company name in here as well, or what the department was, or something a little more specific. But I think it allows the person connecting to understand that you're trying to address everybody. That's totally normal. You're not going to I didn't send out 15 thank you notes for that one. I sent out 1, but then I have multiple interviews, so I sent multiple thank you notes. So you don't want to I'm thinking of like Harry Potter and all the notes from the owls, like, tossing them, like 50 notes coming in. You don't want to do that either. You don't want to be weird about it. But you do want to be sort of thoughtful about addressing everybody that was part of the process. So again, there could be multiple interviews. So, there could be more than one. And that said, if there are multiple, and you've handwritten one, or there's, you sent an email and then, didn't save a copy for yourself, try to keep copies. Either take a picture of it for yourself, or keep a draft of the email that you sent, so that so that you're not saying the exact same thing for all subsequent job interviews that you're going to be having, right? You're going to have more than one, because you're going to be really great. So the second one, maybe the third interview, you want to make sure that that thank you note isn't identical to the first one or the second one. So, all right, so moving on to then gratitude. This is just where you say, thank you for taking the time to share your insights about blah, blah, blah. I learned so much from you about blah, blah, blah. So that you can be very specific about their time, their effort, the information they shared, the insight into the position, insight into the organization, insight into how the company makes money, insight to how you're going to be successful in that job. Anything specific, any sort of story that you can bring back in to connect about why you are the right person for this job, why you are still engaged and you're really excited about this opportunity. You can maybe mention some company connection in here. Maybe it was a connection with the person that interviewed you. You learned about a project that they're working on, that you thought you're going to be an amazing asset to carry that project through to successful completion. So all of that. And then you just get down to the closing. This is always going to be kind of about the same, depending on how your conversation ended with the person that was interviewing you. But you'll say, I look forward to our next steps. Attached are my references as promised, or as we talked about. Attached is another version of, or another copy of my resume, because maybe that person didn't get it and they said, oh, I don't seem to have a copy. Can you send me a copy of your resume? So just following through on anything that you offered during the interview. Maybe they want some articles of your work. You can also put that in there, or put them into your LinkedIn profile and then link back so that they can find it there. Anywhere you want to leave it, make sure it's just, in one look. You don't want to have your stuff in too many different places. So maybe you have a website to highlight, maybe you're a nutrition writer, so you have that information there. So just, where's all that information? And then lastly is your signature. I just like a straightforward one, not the best, or thanks or whatever. I just like straight up, sincerely. I think that's a really good one. And spell out your whole name, put your phone number, your email address, your LinkedIn profile, any kind of stuff you have in that's not already in your byline. Put it in there so that they have that at the ready. They can really find it simply. Okay, I'm going to look into the chat and see if there's any. Okay, good. Whoops. I clicked the wrong thing. Let me go back up. All right, so here is sort of putting all that together. I took a different title here. This is meant to be a clinical position. So here, Dr. Maria Jones. So the subject line is thank you from, and you can say your name, because I think when a position has a lot of candidates for it, it's nice to put your name in there. Sometimes your name comes up differently than you think it does in someone else's email inbox. I might just say Stacy, or might say Stacy at Nutrition Jobs. Like that's how mine's set up to go. They're like, who's that? And then, well, of course they should know who I am, but then, you just want to put your name in there in case, and especially if you have a common name. So dear Maria Jones, it was wonderful to meet with you in person today in my interview for clinical dietitian at this particular hospital. Thank you for your time. I'm, really excited about this malnutrition awareness in the clinical setting. You mentioned that needing a dietitian who's able to take the lead on the medical surgical floor, and that's a skill I'm really excited about. Really like to learn and implement medical nutrition therapy with an innovative team, blah, blah, blah. I've attached my references as promises. Please let me know if there's anything else you need from me. I look forward to hearing about the next steps in the interview process. And then there's your signature. So that's your closing. This is your closing. This is your signature. That's your why. That's your gratitude, and there's your greeting. So that's all pretty straightforward. So any questions about that? Let me see if I see them. You can send me questions anonymously or to the entire group if you want to. So this question came up again before. So If you have multiple interviews, yes, you send a thank you note for each opportunity that you had to meet with them. Most likely it's going to be with somebody different anyway, so you can put that together, in your mind, like who are you meeting with, and again, sort of capture that information so that you don't repeat the same words in the same way. It's easy to do. And then you're going to be super successful. So I want to just give a plug for a couple different items I have a dietetic resume template bundle as Canva downloads. And I was just thinking I should add in here a follow-up thank you template in there too. So I will be adding that to this bundle. You can find that on my website. Up on the top, you'll see courses. So this is the other offering of courses I have. I think a few of you have done my instant makeover workshop, which is super fun. You get everything bundled in there. So it's a really great deal. We meet once a month for the workshop, and it's a really great opportunity. And this is the workshop. We'll have another one in January. We just had one in November, at the beginning of November. We'll have another one in January. So I hope you can join that. I do have a LinkedIn profile checklist that you should download. It's both over on my Instagram account. You can see it when you click on the link in bio. Follow me over there and click on that, and you can download your LinkedIn profile checklist. Make sure you've got an all-star profile, but also so that you're taking advantage of all of the opportunities they give you to give you more opportunities, to harvest more contacts, to get more opportunities, and to attract people as well. So check that out. I've also got it on my website. It's on the right. If you're on the site, it's on the right-hand side on the blog little thumbnails. You'll see that there too. So I thank you for today, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is where all these videos live, and I'm super excited you're part of our community. And always ask me any questions that you have. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, of course, and send me a message through there. And hopefully we can connect and I can answer all your questions. So thank you from Nutrition Jobs. I'm Stacy Dunham, and bye for now.